everyone, it's Sharana from Pay Your Weights, and today I'm going to be reviewing Snowpiercer Season 1, Episode 1, the pilot episode. So Snowpiercer is actually based on a French graphic novel that was later turned into a full feature film in 2013, Snowpiercer, which starred Chris Evans, which is a very excellent movie. It was a very great movie. I actually just recently rewatched it this morning to kind of prepare for the premiere of Snowpiercer. So if you guys have not watched it, it's on Netflix. Make sure you take time out of your schedule because you don't have nothing but time at this point, and go watch it. It's a very amazing watch with a very great message. And so I was interested to see what they were going to do with a television series, how far they will actually go, what things would they actually explore with it. And so after watching the pilot episode, I kind of got a little bit of insight as to where they're going. This doesn't necessarily tie directly into what we saw in the film. I think this takes place in a different timeline. And so we're introduced to Aundre Layton, who is played by Daveed Diggs, who gives us like an overview, an illustration, through an illustration which turns into real life, which I love how they did that, of what was happening before they made it to the train. And so we find out that scientists tried to cool the earth from the global warming that was happening with all the wars, just the unappreciation for the earth as a whole. And then scientists actually tried to cool the earth's atmosphere, but as they were trying to do that, instead this led into Earth basically freezing over. And so as Mr. Williford, he came up with a great arc train, which is all of these trains, 1,001 train cars to be exact. This was humankind's last, hey, this is all we got left. This is all we have to save everyone, whoever can fit on these cars. But of course, we know what happens in the world. The rich are the ones who are rewarded. And so the rich were the ones who were mainly the cause to what was happening with the global warming, but they were able to secure their spots on these train cars to basically stay alive. And so we see that the common people of the world, they staged their last attempt in order to save themselves, and they staged this rebellion, this uprising, in order to get themselves on the cars. And so that's where we're introduced to Aundre and his family. He was with his wife and his young child. And then they kind of speed up into the future as to where we're going. And so we're 6 years, 9 months, and 26 days. I believe that is what Melanie Cavill, who's played by Jennifer Connelly, that is what she says, that she's the train's announcer. She delivers all of the announcements on the train. And so what I find interesting about the pilot premiere is that this is more like a crime, is it a crime procedural? So essentially we are met with people at the tail of the train. This is where what you would call the poor people, the common folk, this is where they were to be found. And so essentially they're trying to plan this uprising. They said enough is enough. We ain't got time to be doing none of this. They have cut our rations more than too many times. There's not enough food for us to eat. We're crammed on top of each other. Like, what else are we going to do? And so they also are upset because most of the women have been sterilized. What we find out that there hasn't been a child born in the tail end for the past 5 years. And so they see themselves slowly but surely dying off, and something needs to be done about it. And so as they're basically trying to stage this revolt, Aundre is like, hey guys, we need more time. There's 1,001 cars. Like, we only know what happens 4 cars up. We need more time to basically come up with a better plan that we know is going to actually work. But the people are like, heck to the no, I ain't got time for this. You think I got 60 years more to wait for them to try to figure out how we gonna stage this rebellion and actually be successful at it? And so they make a conscious plan that they're going to do this now. Right now, they're going to figure out how they're going to take over this train. And so we see that hospitality actually ends up coming down, and then they specifically ask for Aundre, which throws a wrench into everyone's plans, because they're like, what the heck are they trying to do with Aundre? People calling him a traitor. He's sitting here looking shook like, I don't know what they want me for. Like, what y'all get mad at me about? And so he ends up going with them, and then they give him like the shower. You can tell that they've been living in this inhumane conditions, haven't been able to shower. Everyone's dirty and greasy. And so we see that they essentially want him to help them solve a murder. So a murder is taking place on the train. They don't want chaos to basically, everyone to get out of control. And so they want him to figure out who is behind this murder. And so we find out that he used to be a detective. They find out this information. This is why they actually sought out Aundre. But what little do we know is that actually Aundre's wife, I think her name is Zara. Aundre's wife, or I guess ex-wife, because it seems like Zara been over here living her best life, okay? While he over there in the train with the kid. I'm assuming that was his child. So I'm just confused as to what was necessarily happening. I was just like, wow, like I felt the strain in their relationship. And especially as she's telling him like, hey, I told you I wanted to go with my family. I wanted to live the end of our days out and just, we can die together. But no, you said you could find a way to get us on this train. All you did was lead us to years and years of just despair, of depression. And basically you were leading us to our death. So I had to do what I had to do for myself. And then she found her a new little boo thing. So she sold him out and told them that he used to be a detective because she was scared that they was going to pin the murder on her or her boo thing, which I was like, girl, the audacity, okay? The gall for you to tell them so they can go bring your ex to try to help you get your new boo thing. I was like, girl, what were you thinking? But I was like, you have to do what you had to do. But when she was like, I bet you ran off to that little Josie, I said, oh, because at first I thought Josie was his wife. I was like, oh, I felt that because I felt the connection that they had. But he was like, we did what we have to do to survive. I said, but you have to survive like getting up in there, or like, I'm just confused. I need a little bit of answers, but I don't know because they took him away for I could really figure out, you know, were they lovers and friends or just friends? I don't know. I'm just saying. But one of the interesting parts was we see as they're trying to woo him per se. So they give him the shower, they examine him, then they offer him this bomb looking tomato soup and grilled cheese. And I don't even, like, I love tomato soup, but I'm not a grilled cheese person like with the tomato soup, but this stuff looks so good that I wanted to go to the store and buy myself some Texas toast and then make a grilled cheese sandwich myself because that's how good it looked. I just had to, that has nothing to do with the review of the TV show, but whoever was in charge of making that sandwich, it actually looked pretty darn good. So they're trying to woo him and they end up beating the crap out of him because the whole time he was like, hey, I am riding with my tail people, okay? I have nothing to do with this. I don't want to help you guys. Like, what do you need me to do? Like, you're introducing me to all these different cars. We see where they grow the vegetation. We see that there's different classes, which I thought that's what I enjoyed the most about the episode. Is because it seems like we get a deeper exploration into the world building of this train. In the film, you know, I don't even know if they said it was like 1,000 and something cars, but they like went from end to beginning way too quick. So it definitely wasn't that many cars like or what they stated in the movie. So I love that we get to see that there's like this first class and there's like the second class. They reference the third class. So you get to see kind of this caste system, this different social structures of people who are still living better than everyone else who was left in the tail. And I'm assuming everyone in the tail are the people that were left from the rebellion that happened as the train was about to depart. But I think that if they focus more on expanding this world and what it looks like, you can definitely tell they put a lot of money into the budget as far as what the set designs look like. Also, too, as you go through the different cars, you can see these different worlds being brought to life, how it gets more elegant and you see more influence and stuff as you see these different characters interact as they're traveling through the different cars. That's one of the things that I really did enjoy about this pilot episode is getting to see this world that was established, to see it expanded upon. So essentially, they're trying to figure out who this murderer is, someone who is basically killing people and cutting off their genitals. They thought previously that they had captured the person and this young woman took the rap for it. She's been asleep for over 2 years. But in the middle of all of this happening, they decided they're going to wake her up. The tail people in the back, they decided they are going to actually start the revolution now after one of their oldest members basically decides to kill himself because it's just become too much. We know that he was a part of a previous rebellion, that he lost his arm over it. And it was so sad because he tells everyone for my birthday, I just want peace and quiet for 1 hour. I want to listen to my music, just get in the groove a little bit. I was like, okay, look at y'all giving him his peace of mind for a whole hour. But we see that he actually takes the time to kill himself, which leads everyone to essentially start this revolution now. And so we get into this very bloody war that happens throughout the last couple of minutes of the episode. And then essentially as Aundre finds out about it, he decides that he wants to use this as leverage in order to have them meet his demands of making sure that they're getting better living accommodations for the people in Tell and more food, making sure that the wealth is dispersed equally amongst everyone. And so he ends up convincing them to go and ask for it to be put in the drawers, which is like their prison system where they have people sleep out their sentence. And so he decides that he's going to have them do this because he wants to wake them up once he's finished the investigation that he wants them to do. He wants to wake them up so they can then start the revolution once he has more information as to how this entire train system works, which is a pretty good idea. I was like, okay, I was totally here for this. But we see that they end up striking a deal amongst everyone. But one of the biggest revelations that we have towards the end of the episode is with Melanie. And so essentially Melanie is, she is basically trying to help restore order. She very much makes sure that to let Aundre know, like, hey, it might look like we have enough vegetation to help supply everyone food to sustain them throughout the course on this train, but however, that's not the case. And it's not something that we're willing to do. And so we're starting to see these conversations as to social structures and making sure that, you know, you're doing things for the betterment of everyone and not just for those who can afford it. As we saw from the young family, the rich family, where the girl seems totally bored with her rich and lavish life. And she says she wants to go I want to go eat noodles with the third class. And I was just like, huh? Like, what? Like, so how do, like, I don't know if she's just rebelling from what she wants to do. I'm not sure, but I found a lot of the people that they kind of show, it goes into this elitist type of sense of feeling and how, you know, they're getting too rowdy in the third class, so you need to stay here and have your little caviar or whatnot. I hope that we get deeper explorations into these different classes and what these different worlds look like, but also too, is it just money? Is it social structure or social standing and where they were prior to the world freezing? I just need to know a little bit more information, but it's the pilot episode. We're not going to get all the answers, you know, at the beginning. I understand it's going to take time. You got to let it marinate on us for a little bit. I understand. But I was very interested when she has a conversation with Jinju, and she basically tells her, like, hey, we're going to wake this girl up who's been asleep for 2 years, who we accuse of doing the murders, and I want you to keep a close eye on her, and once we get this investigation under wraps, then we can continue our real work. And I was like, Melanie, what is your real work? And I'm trying to figure out how a hospitality person, how they can afford Louboutins on their salary if you sit up here serving people all day. I just had questions and I need the answers to it because I want your job too, boo. So the biggest twist happens with her character towards the end of the episode, where she sees she's finally off from dealing with, you know, the customers, the residents, and then the tell people, the little mini revolution they had for the first episode. And then we see that she goes to her living quarters, which I was like, girl, this is small. You doing all of this and you got on Louboutins and this is where you staying? And then we see that she's at the front of the train, and then she says, Ben, hey, you're sitting in my seat. And then he says, oh, I'm sorry. And then he calls her Mr. Wilford. And then it was like, oh. So we know she's like this engineer, but like people think Mr. Wilford is alive, but he ain't alive, or maybe he is alive. I'm not sure, but I need answers. But we know she's an engineer because she had on this MIT shirt. And then basically she's been navigating the train with Ben this whole time. I need answers. But what I would say for my first thoughts surrounding Snowpiercer is I don't necessarily know how I feel about this like murder mystery that is happening. I guess we need something to carry us on into some type of plot every single episode. So I'm like 50-50 with that. But so far, I like the performances in the show. I like this exploration into class, this expanding upon the world building of the Great Arc Train. I'm excited to see where this goes. I really want to know what's happening with Melanie. I want to know why she's not living this lavish life, because I saw her in her friend's house and her friend was like doing a dang on thing. So I just need to know more. I want to explore these 1001 cars. I'm here for it. This is enough to keep me going into episode 2. So guys, let me know what you thought in the comment section below. What did you think of Snowpiercer, the first episode, the pilot episode? But those are pretty much my thoughts. As always, my name is Sharana from Pay Your Weight. And if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit the notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. I'll see you soon.